Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Marcus Stone stared at the readings on his console with growing unease. His mining vessel, the Iron Hawk, had been operating in this sector for 3 months, without incident. But today, something was different. "Captain, we're picking up anomalous energy signatures," reported his chief engineer, Katie Reeves. Her voice carried a tension that made Marcus's spine straighten. "These aren't natural formations." Marcus moved to her station, his weathered hands gripping the back of her chair. The readings showed geometric patterns that nature simply didn't create. Perfect triangles and hexagons dotted their sensor array, each one pulsing with an energy signature unlike anything in their databases. "How long have they been there?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected the answer would disturb him. "That's the thing, sir. According to our historical scans, they've been there for at least 6 months. We just never noticed them before because they were completely dormant." The implications hit Marcus like a meteor strike. If these structures had been dormant for 6 months, that meant they'd been placed there deliberately. Someone or something had been watching humanity's expansion into space, cataloging their movements, studying their capabilities. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Marcus ordered. "Priority Alpha encryption." As Katie worked to establish the connection, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were being observed at that very moment. The structures on their sensors seemed to pulse with a rhythm that felt almost like breathing, waiting, planning. The communication array crackled to life, and the weathered face of General Patricia Hayes appeared on screen. Her expression immediately grew serious when she saw Marcus's face. "Stone, what's your status? You look like you've seen a ghost." "General, we've discovered what appear to be artificial structures in the asteroid belt. They've been here for months, possibly longer, completely undetected by our surveillance networks." General Hayes leaned forward, her fingers drumming against her desk. "Are you certain they're artificial?" "Positive, ma'am. The energy signatures are consistent with advanced technology, but nothing in our databases matches the configuration. These aren't human constructs." A long silence stretched between them, filled only by the hum of the ship's life support systems. Finally, General Hayes spoke, her voice carrying the weight of command decisions that would shape humanity's future. "Captain Stone, you are hereby ordered to maintain position and continue monitoring. Do not, under any circumstances, approach those structures. I'm dispatching the research vessel Aurora with a full scientific team. Dr. Rebecca Walsh will lead the investigation." As the transmission ended, Marcus stared at the mysterious structures on his screen. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now it seemed they were about to get their answer whether they wanted it or not. Dr. Rebecca Walsh had spent her entire career studying theoretical xenobiology, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of standing before genuine alien technology. The structures that Captain Stone had discovered were even more impressive up close, their surfaces seeming to shift and shimmer like liquid metal frozen in geometric perfection. "Initial scans complete, Doctor," announced Lieutenant James Park, the Aurora's tactical officer. "The structures are definitely active now. Energy output has increased by 300% since we arrived." Rebecca nodded, her eyes fixed on the largest of the constructs. It towered above them, like a crystalline cathedral, its faceted surface reflecting the distant sun in ways that seemed to defy physics. "They know we're here. The question is, what do they want us to do about it?" Her answer came sooner than expected. The structures suddenly blazed with brilliant light, and space around them began to shimmer like heat waves rising from summer. A pavement. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist, and then they appeared. The ships materialized without warning, their sleek forms cutting through space with an elegance that made human vessels look like crude hammers by comparison. They were beautiful in their alien perfection, but Rebecca felt a chill run down her spine as she counted them. 50, 100, more appearing every second. "Dr. Walsh," came Captain Stone's voice over the communication array, his tone tight, with controlled fear. "We're reading massive energy buildups across the entire alien fleet. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Before Rebecca could respond, a new voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect English, though the inflection was oddly musical, almost sing-song in its delivery. "Humans of the vessel Aurora, I am Zix Thara of the Kethmoran Collective. You have been observed. You have been measured. You have been found." Adequate. Rebecca stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "This is Dr. Rebecca Walsh. We come in peace, seeking understanding between our species." A sound that might have been laughter echoed through the ship's speakers. Peace. Understanding. How wonderfully naive. Your species spreads across star systems like a virus, consuming resources, multiplying without restraint. The collective has decided that humanity requires guidance. Guidance? Rebecca's blood ran cold. "Your world will become a preserve. Your people will be relocated to designated zones where you can live simple, sustainable lives under our supervision. Those who resist this generous offer will be processed for biological study. The choice, as you humans say, is yours." The alien. Ships began to move, their formations shifting into what any military strategist would recognize as attack positions. Rebecca realized with mounting horror that first contact wasn't going to be the peaceful exchange of knowledge she'd dreamed of. "How long do we have?" she asked quietly. "Your Earth rotates once more before we begin the preservation process. Use this time wisely, Dr. Walsh. Say goodbye to the civilization you've known." The transmission cut off, leaving the Aurora's bridge in stunned silence. Rebecca looked at her instruments, at the impossible alien technology surrounding them, and made a decision that would change the course of human history. "Get me a direct line to Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her heart. "It's time to wake up the sleeping giant." 24 hours. That's all humanity had to prepare for the end of civilization as they knew it. But the Kethmoran Collective had made one critical error in their calculations. They had observed human expansion, studied human technology, catalogued human resources. What they hadn't accounted for was the human spirit when backed into a corner. President Diana Crawford stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by the greatest military minds Earth had ever produced. The table before them displayed a holographic representation of Earth's orbital defenses, and the picture was grim. "Ma'am," said Admiral Thomas Bradley, his voice heavy with the weight of impossible odds, "our best estimates put the alien fleet at over 5,000 vessels. We have 300 operational warships, most of them designed for system patrol, not interstellar warfare." President Crawford nodded grimly. She had been elected on a platform of peaceful expansion and scientific cooperation. Now she found herself facing humanity's first existential threat from beyond the stars. "What about the colony worlds?" she asked. "Mars Base is mobilizing everything they have," replied General Hayes via secured transmission. "The lunar shipyards are working around the clock to retrofit mining ships with whatever weapons they can manage. But honestly, ma'am, we're talking about equipping cargo haulers to fight advanced alien warships." Dr. Walsh's voice crackled through the communication, a ray from her position near the alien fleet. "Mr. President, I need to report something. The aliens aren't just threatening Earth. Our deep space monitoring stations are picking up similar fleets, moving toward every human colony. This isn't just an invasion, it's complete eradication." A heavy silence filled the room. President Crawford, closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her daughter sleeping safely in the residential wing above. When she opened them again, her expression had hardened into something that would have made her ancestors proud. Admiral Bradley, implement the Phoenix Protocol. The military officers around the table exchanged glances. The Phoenix Protocol was theoretical, a last resort contingency that had never been tested. It involved converting every available civilian vessel into a weapon of war using untested technologies that could potentially be as dangerous to humans as to their enemies. "Ma'am," Admiral Bradley said carefully, "the Phoenix Protocol has never been field tested. We don't know if the new fusion drives will hold together under combat stress. The particle beam arrays could overload and destroy our own ships. And if we do nothing, Admiral, we definitely lose. At least this way, we go down fighting." Across the solar system, the order went out. Every shipyard, every orbital platform, every maintenance facility received the same message. Humanity was at war, and everything that could fly would be pressed into service. On Mars, Chief Engineer Ryan McCarthy looked at the massive ore hauler before him and shook his head. "You want me to turn the Big Bertha into a warship? She's designed to push asteroids, not fight aliens." "Then we'll ram their ships with asteroids," came the reply from his supervisor. "Whatever it takes, Ryan. This is for all the marbles." In the asteroid belt, Captain Stone watched as similar conversions took place across the mining fleet. Cargo ships bristled with improvised weapons. Scientific vessels had their sensor arrays replaced with targeting systems. Even passenger liners were being retrofitted with military hardware. The Kethmoran had expected to face a civilized, organized resistance that would follow traditional military doctrine. Instead, they were about to encounter something far more dangerous. They were about to face humanity unleashed, fighting not for territory or resources, but for the simple right to exist. The countdown timer in the Situation Room showed 18 hours remaining. But humanity was no longer counting down to surrender. They were counting down to war. The alien ultimatum expired at exactly 12 GMT. Across human space, improvised fleets waited in tense formation as massive Kethmoran vessels began their approach to Earth. The beautiful, elegant ships that had seemed so intimidating just hours before now looked different to human eyes. They looked like targets. Admiral Bradley commanded the defense from the bridge of the newly commissioned battleship Defiance, a hastily converted deep space transport that now bristled with experimental weapons. His tactical display showed the approaching alien fleet in perfect formation, moving with the confidence of predators who had never encountered serious resistance. "All ships, this is Admiral Bradley. The aliens want to put humanity in cages. They want to turn Earth into their personal zoo. Well, I've got news for them. Humans don't do well in captivity." The first alien ships entered Earth's orbital defense zone, their energy weapons charging with an ominous glow. But instead of the panicked, disorganized resistance they expected, they found themselves facing something unprecedented. "Contact!" shouted Lieutenant Commander Kelly Nash from her position aboard the converted mining ship Sledgehammer. Multiple bogies, bearing 27 Mark IV. "They're beautiful, Admiral. Almost too beautiful to shoot." "Well, Nash, I guess we'll just have to ruin their day. All ships, weapons free. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home." The battle that followed defied every tactical manual ever written. The Kethmoran ships moved with fluid grace, their weapons precisely targeted, their formations perfectly coordinated. They fought like artists creating a masterpiece of destruction. Humanity fought like cornered animals. The converted ore hauler Big Bertha, its massive cargo bay now filled with nuclear charges, rammed directly into a Kethmoran cruiser. The explosion lit up half the orbital space around Earth, taking out 3 alien ships in a chain reaction that sent debris spinning into the void. Ramming speed became the battle cry of ships too damaged to fight conventionally. Passenger liners loaded with explosives dove into alien formations like guided missiles. Cargo vessels used their powerful industrial tractor beams to drag enemy ships into each other. But the most devastating surprise came from an unexpected source. Dr. Walsh, still aboard the Aurora near the alien command structures, had spent the last 24 hours studying Kethmaran technology with a desperation born of survival. Admiral Bradley, her voice crackled through the battle communications. I found something. The aliens' ships share a quantum communication network. Every vessel is linked to every other vessel. If we can disrupt that network, they'll lose coordination, Bradley finished, understanding immediately. What do you need? Permission to get very, very close to that command structure, and someone should probably say a prayer or two. The Aurora broke from its hiding position among the asteroids, racing toward the massive alien construct that served as the fleet's communication hub. Kethmaran interceptors moved to stop them, but Captain Stone's Iron Hawk and a dozen other mining ships formed a protective screen around the research vessel. Dr. Walsh, came Stone's voice over the comm. Whatever you're going to do it fast. We can't hold them off much longer. Rebecca's hands flew over her controls, uploading a virus of her own design into the alien communication array. It was crude compared to Kethmaran technology, but sometimes crude worked where elegant failed. The effect was instantaneous. Across the battle zone, alien ships suddenly stopped moving in perfect formation. They began colliding with each other, their weapons firing randomly, their beautiful coordination dissolving into chaos. Now, Admiral Bradley shouted, hit them while they're confused. The improvised human fleet pressed their advantage with ruthless efficiency. Ships that had been luxury cruise liners hours before now bore down on alien vessels like avenging angels. The tide of battle turned in that moment, not through superior technology or tactics, but through sheer human determination. The Kethmaran collective had underestimated humanity in every possible way. They had expected civilized surrender or organized resistance. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that would literally ram their own ships into enemy vessels rather than accept defeat. The first alien ship to retreat did so badly, damaged, its elegant hull scarred by weapons that had been improvised from mining equipment. Others followed, their perfect formations dissolving as human ships pursued them beyond Earth's orbital space. The message that would soon spread across the galaxy was simple. Humanity was not prey. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy looked very different. The Kethmaran collective, once considered an unstoppable force of galactic peacekeepers, had retreated to their core worlds after suffering the first military defeat in their 1,000-year history. But the real change wasn't in their retreat. It was in humanity's response to victory. President Crawford stood before the newly constructed Orbital Senate, a massive space station positioned at the L4 Lagrange point between Earth and Luna. Representatives from every human colony, from Mars to the Outer Rim settlements, had gathered to witness the birth of something unprecedented in galactic history. Today, she announced to the assembled delegates and the billions watching across human space, we establish the Terran Federation not as conquerors, but as protectors. The Kethmaran showed us that there are those in this galaxy who would enslave entire species simply because they can. We've proven that such tyranny will not go unchallenged. Admiral Bradley, now bearing the rank of Fleet Admiral, stepped forward to present the new military doctrine that would define humanity's role in galactic affairs. The Defense Pact is simple, he explained. Any species facing extinction or enslavement by a technologically superior aggressor can request Federation protection. We won't interfere in local conflicts or impose our values on others, But genocide, slavery, the systematic destruction of civilizations, not on our watch. Dr. Walsh, now director of the Xenological Research Institute, had spent the months since first contact cataloging distress signals from across the galaxy. "The evidence is overwhelming," she reported. "The Kethmaran weren't the only aggressive species out there. Our deep space monitoring stations are picking up communications from dozens of civilizations under threat. The Vorthan Empire enslaves entire planets for labor. The Nexari swarm consumes worlds for biological matter. The galaxy isn't the peaceful place we hoped it would be." Captain Stone, whose mining ship had been converted into the first of the new Terran defense vessels, nodded grimly. "That's why we're building the Frontier Fleet. Fast ships designed for long-range deployment. We can't protect everyone, but we can make the bullies think twice before they attack someone smaller than themselves." The transformation of human civilization had been remarkable. The same industrial capacity that had converted civilian ships into weapons of war now churned out vessels designed specifically for intervention operations. The improvised tactics that had defeated the Kethmaran became the foundation for a new military doctrine that emphasized adaptability over conventional strategy. But perhaps the most significant change was in humanity's outlook. Before the invasion, humans had been explorers and colonists, spreading peacefully through nearby star systems. Now they were becoming something else entirely, galactic peacekeepers, armed with the hard-won knowledge that sometimes violence was the only language that bullies understood. The first test of the new doctrine came 3 weeks later. A desperate transmission reached Earth from the Zephyrian system, where a peaceful aquatic species faced extinction at the hands of Nexari harvesters. The response was swift and decisive. Fleet Admiral Bradley's task force arrived to find Nexari, bioships stripping the ocean worlds of all life. The aliens expected another easy harvest from a defenseless species. Instead, they encountered humans who remembered what it felt like to face extinction and had decided that no one else should experience that terror. The battle was brief but decisive. Human ships, designed with the lessons learned from fighting the Kethmaran, systematically dismantled the Nexari fleet. The survivors fled, carrying word that the galaxy had a new power to contend with. As news of the Zephyrian rescue spread, something unprecedented began to happen. Species from across the galaxy started reaching out to humanity, not as conquerors or trade partners, but as potential allies in the fight against galactic tyranny.